Welcome to the LoL UK custom night kind of spiel. Do you still have that on a notepad or something? You
Oh,
posted it to me in like Facebook, so it should be there if even not too
yes,
long
it should
ago.
be, shouldn't
Because we don't say that much to each other, especially when I'm in Canada.
it? I try not, yes, try not to speak to each other outside,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah. If we can help it at all. But we are streaming
Yeah,
now,
it's
so
like Penn and Teller. They just don't talk outside the work at all.
try to refrain from outright bitching about me on my own stream, though. That's the only thing.
Uh, da, 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 da. uh, oh, here we go. Yeah, I found it. Uh, right, okay. Uh, yeah, this is the okay.
He accidentally kicked somebody, so we all have to leave.
Smooth.
Noobs. We're dealing with total noobs.
I think that's pretty accurate. Uh,
Everybody knows it. I'm just saying it. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, absolutely. Uh, did you want to be called paranoid?
Uh, you can call me Pete. Yeah. Well, what was paranoid? It wasn't paranoid. Irish Pete. I don't mind really. What is this on?
This is just for the intro bit.
Oh, no, just call me Irish Pete. I'm here with Irish Pete. Irish Pete Johnstone. How's that?
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
It's the second round of the semi-finals with Ring. So yeah.
Can you say
Oh.
something like the remarkable Irish Pete or the enigmatic Irish Pete? The
I
laudable
like
Irish.
enigmatic.
Yeah, I'd even take laudable, which isn't even like a big deal, but it just feels like we should herald ourselves somehow. You can say whatever you like about yourself too. The fine, the grand, the wonderful.
All right, so what we've got here is, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the League of Legends UK Summer Tournament 2015. It's Monday, 3rd of August. My name is Peter Westgate Biscuit Hunnell, and I'm joined by the enigmatic Irish Pete Johnstone. We're heading into the second round, or the second game, it should be, of the semi-finals with Len Willump, a game up over acquiring Exodia. Pete, what are you anticipating heading into this
A bloodbath.
second round?
These teams are going to rip each other apart. There's going to be nothing but incessant killing until
Bullets everywhere.
until they're both so like demoralized and numbed to the horrors of warfare that they're just walking zombies, dragging minion
Sounds
waves with them
amazing.
to the Nexus. Yeah, I'd say based on the last game, there's going to be a lot of killing. These guys like to fight and they're good at it. Uh, I'm not a Warwick though. If you're listening to me, Dandy, not a Warwick. You want to do something cool? I want to carry jungle. Shavana was willing to bring it, and she brought it in the end. Oh, I should probably spectate, right? What else did we like in the last game? I thought the Azir was pretty cool. Um,
I thought he was a neat dude.
he did tons and tons of damage, as Freak would say. Um, the Diana pick,
Yeah.
it's a tough matchup, right? But I wasn't really impressed by the Diana. But maybe we're going to see something really special from Vixen this time. He's going to bring like a pocket pick that's just going to blow our minds. There was a hover on a Syndra as well, which probably would have been a better pick in there because he would have had a lot of peel and CC for the team, which wasn't really present. But in the end, they didn't need it, and that dueling power of the Diana did kind of tell true in some of those late game team fights.
Well, anything that we saw in the previous game ban worthy?
um, Shyvana, maybe. I don't know.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm giving an advantage to the team that's listening to the cast right now by saying it, but it's
Oh well,
it's obvious
yeah.
to
We
everybody.
work on
Yeah.
the assumption that these players, as professional League of Legendsers, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So anything we suggest is going to be, it's going to be. We're speaking from obviously, the amateur perspective. If
Yeah.
they don't know better than we do, then frankly they're in trouble.
Yeah, they do know way better than me, but disclaimer, they're not professionals. But as leaders of the amateur scene, they're certainly aware of it. And yeah, oh, looks like we've got everybody. Ooh, almost. Yeah, looks like we've got everybody in here. We may be about to head over in a champion select, so I'm very excited personally. And you've got your intro ready, so I'm just gonna stop the stream real fast. No, I'll just leave it play. I'll just chop it off.
Let's do it in post.
Yeah,
All right.
post production. Sounds way cooler.
Everyone is here ready. Pretend you just tuned in. All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the League of Legends UK Summer Tournament
Hold on,
2015.
hold
It's
on, hold
Monday.
on. You can't do it
Well,
till we
shucks.
you can't do it till we get into champion select because I was
Oh,
gonna
you told me to do it.
I
You
gotta
told me to do it, and
I
I
gotta
do it. You
chop
well
this bit
done,
off,
man.
like, you know
Well,
what I mean? This is like the lobby. Nobody wants to see the lobby.
mi dispiace. Non è possibile per me così.
I'm working with such amateurs. Literally. And we're both amateurs.
Amateurs.
Yeah.
I'm both made mostly of ham.
By definition, we don't get paid.
Well, I don't know. I'm paying myself in bananas.
Hmm.
Looks like these teams are doing their best to try and organize themselves. I think it's kind of tricky to do when you've got 3 people in the spectator slot because you kind of have to swap onto the other team, I think, to get room. But these teams doing their best to provide a more coherent experience for all your folks. Hopefully, at some point, Riot will update the spectator view to allow for all this dragging and dropping people around, which will make life a little bit easier.
Please, Righto, please. But
Well,
they've got it now pretty much. Hey.
A Lamau. Well, we are only moments away from the second game of the semi-finals. Oh, who's your pick? Who's your pick for to take the series?
Who did you give MVP to in the first game? There's a good question.
Um, hmm. We'll look up. Remember who was who.
So the team that's on red now were on blue. Hecarim, Shyvana, Diana. I think Severe is maybe my pick. Severe. People have given out to me for calling her Severe. I don't know how you do it. But she was ballsy in the late game team fights and really had an effect more
I think
than.
she was very important. The thing is, it's kind of hard because the blue team were more of operated more of as a coherent unit, whereas for the red team, Kim Jong Paro was the one doing I think most of the work along with Last Light. But I think it was Kim Jong Paro frontlining so well for a long, long time that kept acquiring Exodia doing as well as they did.
Yeah, Last Light did a lot of work, but got caught a lot too, you know. And the positioning from
Hmm.
red team wasn't great. Penguins got caught before Drake as well. Last Light got caught twice, I think, on that as year, or a couple of times. But it just, red like had the advantage and momentum, and then they gave away these picks, and then they lost it all. It stalled out, and then it swapped over to blue, who eventually won it.
Yes, I mean, well, to be fair, to Last Light, only Vixen had the same kind of issues as well with getting caught a couple of times. And, I mean, well, I'd like to see these teams try and adjust their strategies to not, make these big mistakes that if they had, if it kind of felt like if both teams hadn't made those big mistakes, that it would have easily gone in, one team's favor. But I'm really surprised at the way it went.
Yeah, I think that that blue team that were had the better skirmishing composition, and they were just at you saw at the end in the top lane fight, they all just dived right on the red team. They're like, "Flip you guys, we're diving right on top of you," and force the carries to peel back, and then you're trading free damage, and then by the time the carries re-engage, your tanks are dead, and you switch to the carries and you win the fight. So yeah, better appeal from uh,
Mm.
from Exodia, I suppose, will be blue team on this side on this match.
Yes, I think that makes sense. I mean, I guess the question is, of course, with this kind of stuff, is whether or not you try and build your team composition to counteract what you just played against in the previous game, or do you try and come up with an entirely new team composition that doesn't have the same weaknesses that your previous one did?
Yeah, you've got to focus on your game and play to your strengths. We see a lot of teams adapting in mid-series to try and counter compositions they come up against. But if it's something the enemy has clearly practiced and you're mid-series changing to something that you're not practiced in, then you're going to have a bad time. So, stick to your game plan, your win conditions, and try and execute that as best you can. I think is the best way to do it. But if there are some specific holes in the composition from last time, then maybe fill those.
Yeah, I suppose it also would make sense if you've got a good handle on what the other team's trying to do, is to try and get that that one ban in there maybe, which is going to take the heart out of that competition. So for example, it did feel a lot like the Exodia were leaning heavily on that Azir pickup. So I wouldn't all be surprised to see that taken out and trying to force Exodia to play in a slightly different way. I mean, even though they've lost in the previous game, I'd like to see Lemon not getting complacent because it was still an incredibly close game.
Yeah, it was that prerogative too of the red team last pick counter pick, so they got to see all of blue team's composition and then pick an Azir into it. But they won't have that prerogative this time. If they do pick the Azir earlier, then there's a potential for red to counter pick it again, even with an Aurelia or a Varus or Kog'Maw would do the job too. So I don't think that last slide had a global map influence that was enough to merit taking him down on it. He was proficient, mechanically proficient on it, and did really well in some fights and got some great double kills. But it was no faker, no easy hoon anyway. So we may see targeted bans, but I'd expect to see bans at popular Devourer champions and new picks like Echo, Tam, and other meta power picks.
Well, in the Twitch chat, we do see members of the Twitch chat offering their energy up as sacrifices to Dandy Chap. How important is it going to be for these teams to have the advantage of having their cheering fans in the Twitch chat, willing them on with various superpowers of different descriptions?
No, none at all, I would imagine. Not the smallest iota of influence. I'd say that inherent gamma ray bursts would have more of an influence on the players than Twitch chat, because Twitch chat is made up of the players ostensibly, right?
Well,
um,
I'm pretty sure at least some of them are in there. I mean, we've certainly seen Danny Chap making his presence felt to accept the tribute from his fans as we head into Champion Select. And yes, I can finally do this bit. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the League of Legends UK Summer Tournament 2015. It's Monday, 3rd of August. My name is Peter Wesker Biscuit Hartnell, and I'm joined by the enigmatic Irish Pete Johnstone. We're heading into the second game of the semi-finals with Len Willump a game up over the acquiring Exodia team. Pete, what are you anticipating heading into the second game?
well, I think we're going to see that Len Willump on red team now have a chance to do a little bit more counter picking against Exodia. They have the game advantage too, so the potential to maybe try something new and see if just by mixing it up they can keep Exodia on on the hop, and not let them settle. But we see the bans come in quick order. Shyvana, Kale, typical Devourer junglers banned out. Elise as well. Ari and Janna and Aurelia are staple bans from the last round, so potentially scouted target bans. Um, as we're heading into picks, it'll be interesting to see who's prioritized on blue team. Um, Nobody, maybe the Azir as you say, but too early to pick it. I think we're going to see a jungler locked in early. Realistically, a jungler or a top laner that's going to give some power back over to Exodia on the red team.
I mean, I think you're completely right. The Azir pickup last time, such a great pickup against Diana, because Azir was able to put his Sound Soldiers down to pretty much next to any minion that Diana wanted to get, and punch in the face for her troubles. So, all right, and a very early lock in on the Thresh from Kim Jong Poro. I'd be interested to see what champions they'll be picking up to try and synergize with that one.
Yeah, so Dust will go straight back onto the Thresh. It's it's ubiquitous. At every patch, every season, Thresh is always picked because he's got such great utility in his kit with the Death Sentence, which is quite literal sometimes, and the Dark Passage combination. He's able to offer a great amount of mobility and CC for his team. So a good strong pick there. Doesn't give too much away about what their composition is going to be. Allows them to get a look at these first two picks here from Willump, which, potentially Fizz and Nidalee, which would be very strong picks. Um, but we'll just have to wait for those to be locked in. But yeah, I
Oh,
actually,
yes, as is always, there'll always be change the second before you spend 2 minutes like waxing about how great a particular champion is.
it,
So we've got mere seconds to wonder. But okay, some interesting pickups. That Fizz in the top lane going to be well if we're assuming he's in the top lane just because he's been picked up first.
Yeah, I think so. Harv has done quite a lot of Vi in ranked games, second most played champion after Lee Sin. So no surprise to see that locked in, very much a comfort pick there. And as I said, with the one game advantage, they don't need to worry about the meta too much. The Fizz and the Vi could be a very deadly combination, and because there's a lot of upfront damage and some CC there as well, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting to see who's picked over on Exodia in the top lane to counter this. What we presume is an AD top lane Fizz.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems relatively likely. I'm also very interested to see what acquiring Exodia pick up as a answer to this vice. Is as you were saying, she's really, really hard to deny. So perhaps I don't know. Maybe if they can perhaps go for a strategy which means that they, or certain champions which don't mind being aggressed on by Vi as much, but I don't know who those would be.
Yeah, Rek'Sai is a great example of an early pressure jungler to match Vi, so Vi will be showing up in lanes and having an effect with the Assault and Battery. And Rek'Sai is somebody who can do the same with his tunnels and show up, use his Tremor Sense to make sure that he's not counter jungled, and Nar locked in the top lane to face up against this Fizz. So going to be using his ranged attacks in mini Nar, his mobility, and then his upfront CC and damage in Mega Nar to try and negate the fish. But that's a tough matchup for Nar there, so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But some very strong picks for Exodia in the Thresh, the Rek'Sai, and the Nar, so very strong draft so far. Whereas
Hmm.
Willump's composition with the fish, the the Vi, and potentially Ezreal Soraka. It doesn't have as much of an identity. Ezreal locked in, potentially Runeglaive Ezreal or maybe ADC as well, and a last minute switch to Bard. So a kind of all-in poke disengage dyslexic. I don't know what it is. Composition over on Willump. Um, what do you make of that Ezreal pick actually with the Fizz? Because Fizz is someone who typically wants to jump in and do a load of damage. You could use the True Shot Barrage, for example, to apply some more damage to that and have like global fights by proxy. Um,
Well, I think what this might possibly be speaking to on Lemwillup's side is, as you say, it's not the most obvious combination of champions. We might be seeing them trying to, use the poke and the mobility to try and apply pressure across various different points on that, rather than going for the direct team fight. I mean, Drake is going to be very effective at deleting people without necessarily having to have any support. So I don't know. I mean, I'm loving Last Light's pickup on Nard. It seems like a really nice answer to the damage coming out of Fizz, and being able to punish his lack of range as well seems really important, which a lot of top laners couldn't do.
and we do see the lock of the Azir coming in with Jinx. So again, a great late game scaling composition, but this time I think a little bit more holistic. The Gnar and the um, Rek'Sai and the Thresh can serve up targets on a platter for the Jinx and the Azir to devour, and also provide peels, so allow them to back off at a fight. It looks like it could potentially be a ADC Ezreal on Phoenixo with the Bards, so it is a combination that does scale kind of well as the Jinx, but has a lot of potential for disruption with the Bard skill set that he has there. So I still favor the draft here for Exodia on blue team. I think they have a very strong composition, great team fights, a great catch potential. Whereas it seems like more individual comfort picks over on the side of Willump. But we'll have to see if they can put it all together in a composition that works with Oriana locked in as the timer expires.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we're going to be seeing Last Light on Azir again. It seemed very comfortable with his mechanics in the previous game. So yeah, that seems like a nice pickup for acquiring Exodia. That Oriana going to be a new one here, but I think I like the combination play with Fizz, able to put the ball onto Fizz and get it into places that maybe acquiring Exodia don't want it to be. Uh, I'm really looking forward to seeing Fruden on Bard in the bottom lane as the more roaming support style. And it seems like a good combination with Ezreal, who's had you can use his oh man, now I can't remember it. Essence shift, phase shift, some kind of shift. His short range teleport to be able
Yeah,
to avoid getting death sentenced and keep himself safe from the
essence
very CC heavy bottom lane.
essence flux, maybe.
Let's look it up.
Yeah. It was a little bit of mind gaming too to pick the Ezreal
Arcane shift. It's a
arc.
mystic shot. Essence Flux, Arcane Shift.
Yeah, cool. Okay. As they're locked in, of course too the Ezreal too had the potential to be mid lane, so then they picked the Azir and then finally red team advantage for Willump to counterpick the Orianna into the Azir. So mid lane, hmm. Again, it's a skill matchup between these two, but the Orianna does at least scale very well, so she'll be able to keep on par with the Azir. Um, but I think we're going to see some bloody team fights as these both teams have already demonstrated a willingness to fight first and then secure objectives later.
Hmm. Oh, I'll be very interested to see how it goes. Well, it's only going to be a couple minutes out of these teams already loading into the Rift. Yes, I'm expecting to see a much more passive than Willump bottom lane, given that we've got the exhaust coming out of Prudence, Bard, and by his very nature, Bard's going to spend a little bit of time away from the bottom lane. But I'd really like to see Len Willump taking advantage of that roaming Bard to get some pressure onto that mid lane, which is oftentimes catches the mid laner off guard because especially if they catch sight of the jungler and see them say in the top lane, to have a support suddenly turning up behind the mid laner can be quite surprising, especially when he's got such good crowd control like Bard does.
Yeah, so the ignite on um, Exodia's side is on the Dust Devils, so that won't scale as well as the exhaust, which in late game team fights will be very important. But on the flip side, then Draytor on the Fizz is taking the ignite into a flash TP now. So this time I think he's going to have a lot more kill pressure in that lane than he did up against the Tam Kench. Um, yeah, I think that it's going to be interesting up top. I expect Draytor to try and go off a little bit and use the ignite to get some early kills onto Nair and keep him down, and then push turrets in and make sure Nair isn't able to use that TP to go global and turn around other lanes. Last game in bot lane was very passive too, Pete. So do you think that different champion compositions here is gonna make things a little bit more fiery?
Well, I mean, as we were saying before, I think there's a huge amount of potential for acquiring Exodia to get kills in the bottom lane with the stacking crowd control, the zap, the flame chompers, the death sentence coming out. So uh, Phoenixo has to be super careful. I mean, he's got good sustain from his from Bard, but there's going to be a really interesting bottom lane to watch because there's always going to be the potential there for the kills to come out. But I don't really know if Phoenixo is going to be able to do that much more than just farm using his abilities. For example, his Mystic Shot.
I think that Penguins is on a much more aggressive ADC in the Jinx, who's able to skirmish more effectively than the Tristana early. Tristana takes a long time to scale up, and she's not very effective trading with other ADCs. Uh, More so than she was, but still not very much until she gets some items. So it'll be easier for this Jinx to become aggressive with the Thresh and try and get some kills going on down there, get some turrets going down early so they can get Drake pressure, etc. And because it was very much a farm fest in bot lane the last time, so it'd be fun to see a bit more action.
Well, let's say I definitely think that's not going to be Len Willems' plan. Uh, it's possible as well. Acquiring Exodia will take advantage of the more passive Len Willump bottom lane to try and press them back into the turret and maybe try and steal away some early dragons. Rek'Sai, I guess, relatively okay at picking up dragons early on, but we see how that one plays out.
I think Oriana is going to be forced probably to build a Chalice of Harmony rather than going for a tier up against the Azir just to have the extra magic resist. Ezreal may go
Hmm.
tier as well, and if they both do go tier, then it will put them at a distinct combat stat disadvantage in the lanes until those are stacked and completed into other items. So they'll have to be careful that they don't double park with tiers and set themselves back in early team fights.
Well, I suppose it's possible we might see Len Willump just accept the fact they're going to be kind of less effective early on. I mean, it will be interesting to see how only Vixen decides to build. If I do completely agree with you that Chalice seems like a very sensible pickup. If they do decide to go for the tier, we might just be seeing a very passive play, at least towards the bottom side of the map. Maybe seeing Harv concentrating his attention
Yeah,
on Draytor up in the top lane to get him ahead.
Very well may do as we load into the Rift, and here we go. Game 2 in this semi-final between acquiring Exodia and Len Willump. Len Willump on the red team have a one-game advantage, but Exodia are eager to even things out here as we get into the Rift.
Yep, it's masteries on full display here, making sure that we know exactly how many games they played on each of these champions. A quick pause for effect.
Sure,
And
it wouldn't be a tournament without a couple of pauses with it.
I have to admire Kim Jong Paro's excellent hat, a very, very dapper prehistoric yordle.
Yeah. And also Rek'Sai with the inevitable shark skin. So pool party Rek'Sai also looking very fancy.
But
Although
he's safe as well. He's got the inflatables, making sure that if he goes in the pool and maybe falls asleep in the afternoon sun, he isn't going to have an accident of any kind.
well, yeah, Tam Kench has been spotted around these parts, so it's best to have as much protection in the water as you can get, right?
No, that's true. Don't make any deals with any catfish-faced demons anytime soon. It doesn't work out as well as you might imagine.
No, I don't think it would. So again, no level 1 shenanigans, a couple of defensive wards placed across the entrances to the jungles. Dre for having a look in the river bush, but nothing to be found. So yeah, just both teams happy to settle in and have a respective Grump and Krug start. Both starting with the ADCs, so on the stronger side, getting a better leash and into their jungle. Of course, Rek'Sai is resourceless, so the red buff is beneficial for his start. You see that more often, whereas Vi requiring mana and being a bit more cooldown based will go for the blue start here. So no surprises, no shenanigans.
Yeah, Danny Chap looking very happy to be in this bottom lane. I think both these teams not wanting to risk the early aggression because there's quite a lot on the line. I mean, not necessarily specifically in this game, but this is both teams' entry into the final. And acquiring Exodia really just can't afford to make mistakes and give up the second game without a fight.
Yeah, absolutely. They have to be on guard here. But as we said in the first game, they can't be afraid to take risks and try and get an advantage because if they play to not lose, then they may meet the fate they try to avoid. They have to play to win it, and that means taking risks.
Yeah, I like the pickup, Freedom picking up the Spell Thief's Edge, gets the double proc because of his passive. But there we go, Death Sentence coming out, Freedom gets caught already. But surprisingly enough, not really punished that much, but it's so dangerous down this bottom lane for Len Willump.
Still a level 1 Jinx on Penguins, so no Chompers or even Zap to follow that up. But Dust Devil is happily just to zone here while Penguins gets ahead on CS.
Oh, nice binding there. The counter aggression, the cosmic binding, very good. Getting the double stun, and the health packs are starting to drop down. We are seeing some relatively aggressive pokey play coming out in this bottom lane from Len Willump, but it's getting punished pretty heavily by Dust Devil.
Yeah, you'd expect Exodia with the Jinx Thresh bot lane to certainly have more pressure down here, and they're not afraid to flex their muscles a little bit for it too. They're going to rely on that Jinx to get ahead and be ahead in team fights if they're going to want to win this game.
Yeah, already we're seeing a small CS advantage in favour of acquiring Exodia. It looks like they're going to try and maybe press into the bottom lane turret and try and force some more mana usage out of. For the moment, it's a fairly comfortable looking Phoenixo.
Yeah, as Bard comes online, he does have some disruptive CC that could potentially lead to some bad trades for Jinx, but overall she just has the upfront damage to be able to outtrade this Ezreal. He's going to be mana dependent too, and has have to manage that resource. So the more and more they trade, the better things get for Penguins on a Jinx, who would just AA all day.
Yep, that's certainly true. It can become a real terror as it gets into the late game. But so far, it's looking pretty even. And we're seeing Kim Jong Paro doing a decent job of keeping the harass onto Drayta. Interesting to see Drayta going for the Crystalline Plus. I guess very much aware that he's going to be taking that early harass and doesn't want to have to be forced out of lane.
Yeah, Flask is a very strong synergy with Teleport because you can go back really quick and be back out, and it saves you a lot on pots. So not surprised to see that there. And he may even build into Dorans or double Dorans to try and get an early lane advantage over this Gnar.
Yeah, Drayton and Kim Jong Pro coming a little out of that one a little bit worse. In the bottom lane, Prudent getting taken very low. The exhaust is there, Flash being burnt as well. For Nixo, so it does appear like Hikari and Exodia, when it comes down to a flat-out brawl, do have the advantage.
Well, yeah, both of the guys in bot lane each stand on a chompers. It's not going to go their way. We also saw Dandy in the river nearby to render assistance. Harbis having a look, and those guys may yet meet. But yeah, great trade down for Penguins in the bot lane. Able to get very efficient use out of the chompers. But pots are used and they're back up on full health bars. But Ezreal is now quite low on mana and find it harder and harder to CS without that resource.
It seems like a smart move down in Exodia's bottom lane to try and force, if they're running low on mana, it's going to be a lot harder for them to kind of dictate the pace.
Yeah, words are hard, aren't they, Pete?
They are hard.
Yeah, in the mid.
Danny Chat comes in. There's no words for him quite yet.
Yeah.
It's worth noticing that we are seeing Pruden starting to roam around to pick up those chimes. Oh, here we go. Last light in a lot of trouble here, but only Vixen very low on mana. One more hit's going to do it. Is that last hit there? No, it's not.
Oh, she saved her flash, had the flash auto, could have taken a kill, but decided not to. Still gets all the lane pressure in the world. I was just about to say they were even on CS, and then the shockwave aggressive play from Vixen, able to give her the lane advantage. So they push that out. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, they see that pressure, and they're going to go ahead and take this Drake.
Yeah, Penguins making really nice use of the flame jumps there, keeping the mana bait, but Pruden lovely cosmic binding, and the first blood mainly due to an excellent cosmic binding.
Yeah, beautiful cosmic binding into the flash vault breaker from Vi. Really nice combination there, and they punished the Drake take. Maybe the peel path could have been better from Blue. It was risky to take that when they just lost a member because they had no pressure in the lanes. And that's going to turn things around now, giving an assist to this Ezreal, put him a little bit ahead on CS. And even though the Drake is in the bag, that has a very little impact on combat stats early game. So all in all, a bit of an advantage there for Red Team. 1k gold advantage, got a kill on the board, down a Drake, but they're not too worried about that.
Yeah, Willump made a really good decision there. The Penguins really suffering for the lack of mobility on the Jinx, especially after she just blown her Flame Chompers, which would have almost guaranteed her escape there. So as much as I just talked up her use of Flame Chompers to try and keep Pruden out of the fight, it ultimately turned out to be a mistake.
Yeah, and we see the Ezreal does buy his tier and his pickaxe, so... Ooh.
Wow, that's a very aggressive yodel. Fortunately, like any gentleman, it still retains the top hat.
Yeah, I think even if Poro had landed a house, he couldn't follow it up, so Drafer able to playful trickster out of any harm's way there. And but as we we're saying, it looks like the advantage is going to the team with the one game in the bag already here. So bad news for Exodia. They're going to need to try and staunch this flow here. But a lot of pressure in bot lane as that awkward BF longsword by Devil's Caught Fangxio.
Well, that's we've seen that in the other games before, where I think the instincts to hook on Thresh players are just so strong. But Danny Chap, hiding in the bushes there, is draping their corner. He's committed to this fight. He's going to regret it. Kim Jong-Paro gets the kill.
He immediately regretted that decision. A beautiful gank there from Dandy. Easiest gank he ever had in his life, right? And they managed to get a kill back on the board and put that on the Gnar, which is going to be really great for these guys.
I mean, the Sheen has been completed now for Drayton, so having that extra money in the pocket of King John Pro is going to mean he's not going to be as vulnerable to getting bursted down. But Penguins... Oh, there you go. Oh, wow, half going in. We see Danny Shep go across the wall. Kim Jong Pro, fortunately, well, I'd say perhaps less unfortunate, has to use the hop and flash mid-hop, which meant he didn't actually get any further distance. A mistake costing him his life.
He flash hopped into the wall and actually slowed himself. We did see the assault and battery come down, so that's been channeled. But overall, very nice kill onto Poro in response for a bit of an overstay. Kills swinging back and forth now, 2-1 to Willump. But we're going to have to see who can convert this into a turret advantage, because right now neither side has done any significant damage to turrets, so it's all just been some kills and CS traded. CS is pretty even across the board.
Well, it's worth noting that the 2 kills full lane Willump. Enough of that, because here comes Danny Chap coming in. Lovely use of the Tempered Fate, keeping Dust Devil from committing any further to the fight. Oh, well, Fruden, he's bitten off more than he can chew on. The Penguins with the Zap, they're up in the top lane, the fight is breaking out as well. And I don't know if Kim Jong-Paro is completely ready to take on Drayton quite yet.
That was a huge mistake by Fruden to go back in there. Cost him his flash, almost his life. The return, oh, here's a fight. Drader looks like he's trying to get out of trouble. Both so very low in the top lane. But as we said, that True Shot Barrage from Ezreal chunking out both Dust Devil and Penguin so low they had to go back as well. So advantage actually going to Red despite the mistake.
Yes, that's quite surprising. I mean, wow, the Super Mega Death Rocket almost connected there. Well, I say almost. It was on the same screen.
It was a metric mile away, or metric kilometer away from it. But yeah, still great play from both teams, and things are starting to heat up. We are seeing some aggressive wards coming in from Willump this time, starting to get across the river, but still not much in the way of deep wards in the jungles to kind of pick out the activities of this Vi and Rek'Sai, who are certainly much more involved than the last game.
Well, half going in. Kim Jong-Paro has nowhere to go. That's the 3rd kill for Len Willump. Very dominant. We are seeing a move up the top lane from Last Light, but I don't know. It's gonna. Well, he has got a little help from his jungle friend Danny Chap coming from the back. Drayton could be in a lot of trouble here. It looks like Harv's going to use Drayton's sacrifice to get away. And Chum the Water's coming out, but not enough damage. Last Light takes the kill, and at least gets another kill on the board for Exodia.
Yeah, great collapse there, spotting that Drayton also on very low HP and had overstayed himself. So it kills going back again, advantage 3-2 to Willump at this time, but just across the board skirmishing. Looks like they finally will be able to put some pressure on that top lane turret, and looks like they will take it, but it'll be traded in bots, so the gold will stay very close with about a 1.5k advantage to Willump at this stage.
I have to think that even as much as I initially liked the pressure up top, given that we're seeing a dragon coming up very soon, we can see Len Willump pushing down this bottom lane turret. I have to think it's going to give them a really big advantage with being able to access the areas around Dragon much more safely.
Yeah, and we're looking at the itemization. We see that Ezreal has managed to complete his Manu main, which is about 200 stacks into becoming a Mermana. We've completed Athene's on Orianna will give her a lot more sustain power in lane to be able to stay. Whereas on the flip side, you've only got the Stinger on Azir and the Codex, the components of Nashor's Tooth, but not quite there yet. The Cowl and another cloak on the Gnar, but nothing quite there. So, and no items really on the Jinx to speak of. So a little bit more of a power spike here for Willump on the red team in terms of itemization, at least.
Yep, and well, we're seeing both teams looking like they really want to control the vision around the dragon. Obviously, the Rift Scuttler's vision unable to be countered for the moment, so we might see Len Willump just trying to wait this one out.
Yeah, Exodia are not willing to commit, but they're hanging around. But the Drake will go down relatively fast, so it's up to whether Dandy on the Rek'Sai can get in to contest this smite. Isn't able to do it. It actually goes over to Drayton, but still secured by Willump on the red team. So ties the Drakes up 1-for-1. They may lose the spot turret for it. No pressure elsewhere on the map, but it's still a good trade.
Yes,
Dragons grow back, right, but turrets don't.
That's I guess that is true. The fight is continuously breaking out. Tempered Fake holding Kim Jong-Paro in. I don't know if this fight is going to really go that much further. We have got the turret advantage in favour of acquiring Exodia, and looking to it, oh, lovely death sentence! And nice shift away there from Vixen. Penguin's in trouble, gets the heal, but cannot get away from that Sultan battery. Nice Gnarls, but half push into the wall, but it's Len Willump dominant in this bottom lane.
Yeah. Oh, nice death sentence true onto Vixen at the tail end of the fight. But I think that Shockwave got the only person, only got one person, but the only person you wanted to get in a team fight and pulled Penguins in and chunked them out. And then it was an easy finish for Harv with the assault and battery the ultimate on and to crush that Jinx into the ground. And a great fight there for Willem. They were able to get the Drake. They saved the turret. And in the end, they picked up a kill on Jinx too. So all going pretty well for this Willem team to take a 2-0 in this series. We're going to have to see something fresh from Exodia if they want to continue. And you see the farm alarm there as Rek'Sai goes into his lower jungle and continues on. Not a lot going on right now in terms of objectives. There's not a lot on the board. There's both of the outers in bot and one of the outers in mid, and the opposite one on top.
Well, I mean, it's oh, Penguins getting caught against the wall. Lovely binding. Penguins does manage to hold Ezreal in place. What nearly avoids the Essence Barrage, but nearly isn't good enough.
Yeah, got zoned back in, so either go back into the Bard or turn and die in the True Shot Barrage, but goes down successfully either way. Underestimated the Bard's potential CC chaining and paid the price for it. So 0-3 Penguins on this Jinx is really struggling to get going, is only sitting on still a BF and a pickaxe now, whereas Ezreal has already got the Sheen to go with his Manu main. or whatever the thing is called, right?
Oh, Manamune.
Manamune, thank you. But yeah, Blue roaming, looking for a kill onto Vixen, not quite able to catch her. Shockwave onto Dust Devil, here's the TP.
Yep, Dust Devil has been taken out. Teleport coming in. Last night flashes the Tempered Fate. Zap comes in, trying to keep Drater at range, but he jumps across the Emperor's Divide, not going to keep Last Light safe. Only Vixen picks up the kill, and that's 2 kills for nothing.
Yeah, Red know that they're strong now, and they're willing to prosecute these kills. So it looked initially like only Vixen had mispositioned and got caught, but because the red team, Willump, were able to collapse faster, they turned it into a kill, and we'll get a turret for it too, I think.
Yeah, but a huge amount of pressure being applied here. It doesn't look like Aquarian Exodia have really got what it takes to be able to push this one back. They could try and clear the mini wave. Meganar comes out. The mini wave is cleared. Kim Jong-poro may be a little too aggressive.
What they really needed was an ADC, but he was in the top lane pushing out that wave. So, if they're able to hold blue here and prevent the rotate up, then this double pressure from Drater and Phanixo on the Ezreal is going to take an outer turret for them, but they have to make sure they don't trade in there for it.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Aquarian Exodia have still done a pretty reasonable job of keeping their tower pressure up. But it may work out alright for Phanixo in the top lane. Doesn't seem to be getting too much attention and does pick up the 3rd turret of the game for Willump.
Yeah, the Orianna was confident with the Athenes and the components. Oh, Drater's caught.
Well, does get across the wall, but Drater has the nice shockwave to save him there. Chum Waters comes out, but won't keep him alive. That's going to be making Exodia feel a little bit more comfortable at pressing into this middle lane.
Yeah, they blew a lot there to try and save Drater too, and he still went down for it, so they should be able to keep the waves clear with Orianna and Ezreal, and it'll be tough to see if Exodia can siege on this, but a good pick. But can they translate it into anything? Drake's still a minute and a half away. They're not in a position to take Baron yet, and the waves are pushing against them.
It does feel like we're seeing, well, looking at the itemization, Kim Jong-poro building really heavily into magic resist and taking a lot of damage from the AD components of Len Willump. I don't know, it's at this point, it doesn't necessarily feel like Kim Jong-poro is really able to frontline that effectively.
Yeah, the Rek'Sai has gone for a Cinder Hulk and looks to be building into maybe a Hex Drinker as well. The Hex Drinker and then the Cowl and some components on Poro on the Gnar. But you don't see any Frozen Mallet, there's no Black Cleaver, so he's not really a damage threat in fights. He's not something they need to dedicate time and resources to killing. So it just means that they have more time to focus on the Azir and the Jinx, and probably the Jinx first and then the Azir. So I don't know, that strange itemization on the Gnar. I understand he wants to go full tank and make sure that he's there just as a huge CC bot in the fights, but I think it might be more effective to build, maybe one damage item and then go full tank on him.
Well, it's also really interesting to note that Drayton, despite having 3 deaths, enough about that. We're seeing that the catches on the supports there. Fruden gets taken out. Temper Fate just gets cancelled there. Dandy Chap right in the middle, can get a lot of damage, but it looks like Willump going to be able to. No! It's trying to disengage desperately. Shockwave comes out. Counter offensive. Dandy Chap taken very, very low. Phoenixo takes out Dandy Chap, but they trade kills backwards and forwards. And I don't know if either of these teams wants to follow up any further. Dust Devil taken very, very low. Does connect with a hook though. This could be what they needed. The flash comes out. Poro is chasing, but again, doesn't have the armor to be able to shrug off the damage quite as easy as maybe he likes. Getting poked down, and we're presumably going to see him hop across the wall any second now.
Drake is live, but both the junglers are down, so neither team really too incentivized to start it. It looked like a really, really great fight for Exodia, but a good collapse again from Phoenixo in combination with the Shockwave and the True Shot Barrage turned a lot of damage back, and in the end forced blue team off. Oh,
Drayton! Drayton is a traitor to himself, presumably shopping there, perhaps. Didn't see the incoming damage until it was too late.
Second time in the last few minutes he's been caught and given a clear advantage over to Exodia, so they're going to have to be really careful about that sort of thing if they want to win this series. For now, Drake 3 is forfeit, so it'll be 2-1 and a little bit of a third pushing advantage going over to Exodia on the blue team, and that's a mistake by Dreyfus, and it's cost his team. So now the momentum switches a little bit back in favor of blue, even though they're still down on gold and kills.
Yes, it's really surprising. I mean, I completely agree with you. It feels very much now that Exodia are dictating the pace of the game, despite being behind. Well, I mean, certainly a little bit behind. They've got the same amount of turrets. They've got actually more dragons. The Baron doesn't really seem to be that much of an option for either team. They seem to be pretty leery of each other. I guess acquiring Exodia has a lot more to lose.
There's a 3k gold advantage, which isn't accredited to by either turrets taken or even by the kills. 2 kills being the difference. So looking across the board, there's a huge farm discrepancy in the ADC and to an extent in the top lane and the mid lane. So across the board, Willump have been able to get better farm and are scaling into their items better. So I think we're going to see that become more and more important in the fights to come, as the Trinity Forces is just now completed onto Drater on the Fizz and Felixo on the Phoenixo on the Ezreal, so it makes them really, really strong. We've got the Luden's Echo on Orianna, the Black Cleaver on Vi, so a lot of item power spikes in red. They're going to look for fights, and after they get the fights, start to knock down those tier 1 turrets.
Yes, I mean, the items is massively different between these two AD carries. Completed Mana Mermaid and Triforce coming out for Willump, compared to not even a completed Infinity Edge for Penguins on acquiring Exodia. I guess we might see some time given across to Penguins to try and catch up item-wise, but I guess also isn't quite as mobile as Phoenixo to be able to come back to the fight when needed.
No, has been effectively shut down. Did just complete the IE, but only has the Griefs to go with it. Still no other crit improvement like from a Zeal, a Static Shiv, or heaven forbid, a Phantom Dancer. So still a bit of scaling to do on this Jinx. Is not quite the presence. Won't be doing that huge crit splash damage with the rockets in the team fights. And the Ezreal is massive now.
Last Light going very, very aggressive there. They don't have quite the vision. Fruden, nice shockwave there, keeping Dust Devil in place. Tempered Fate catches 2 members, but it won't keep Fruden alive. Dust Devil taken very, very low. Drayton chums the waters, but doesn't get the right target perhaps. Drayton gets taken out there, trading kills back and forth. Kim Jong-Puro gets the stun, gets the assault and battery though. And we're seeing the very, very fed half the Emperor's Divide trying to keep the blue team safe. Phoenixo getting taken very low. Danny Chap is the only one left standing, desperately trying to get away. Phoenixo is there to try and finish the job. Danny Chap decides to try and fight, but fails.
Yeah, an ace for 1, I think. An ace for 2, actually. But the whole time, Phoenixo was standing there doing free damage with his almost stacked Manumene, Muramana, and his Trinity Force, his Boots of Lucidity, just doing like tremendous damage. Arcane shifting into the Raptor pit to finish off the rest of the carries and finally chase down this Raptor. So far, MVP of the match, doing huge work. Now sitting 4-0-4, is a massive... like 3k ahead of Jinx, And in terms of itemization, it's showing through. So those power spikes that we spoke about on red, they've come to fruition and they've won a team fight. I didn't manage to take much off of it because there wasn't much on the board, but it's made them stronger relative to Exodia, who are struggling to keep alive in this series.
I'm really liking what we're seeing here, item-wise, from Hard. Has taken that massive gold advantage that they've picked up from getting all of those kills early on, and has turned that into a combination of offensive and defensive capabilities of that cleaver, building what's presumably into a Randuin's Omen as well, making it really, really hard for acquiring Exodia to do anything about Half when they dive into a team fight.
What Exodia can do is try and take his sneaky Baron, but the problem is when you're about 7k gold down, it's really hard to do sneaky anything. But they did get it. They managed to secure a Baron uncontested because some lacks vision. Poro may be caught, but takes the Dark Passage to freedom, and they're out scot-free, so... oh, nice.
Oh man, I have to think that that was a big mistake on Kim Jong Poro's part. They got the Baron. They didn't, they were a little battered at that point. Taking the fight further than that,
Yeah, I think
to be honest, they got off lightly.
what he might have been doing potentially was just sacrificing himself to make sure the buff stayed on the other players that were fleeing. But either way, we saw this in the last game on the flip side where Exodia were ahead, and then Willump managed to get a sneaky Baron and win the game. So Willump have to be careful, really careful. They don't like keep giving away these uncontested objectives. But otherwise, still looking really strong at the moment, and still on that item power spike. Jinx has got a whole lot of stuff: a longsword, brawler's gloves, a Doran's blade, and a pick. You know what is it? A pickaxe? No. But
Well, yes,
either
I
way,
think
a lot of
it looks like
nothing.
she's building towards the
All the
potentially
components of
planting
a
Darcy
stat
down the line,
or a static shiv, or all the
yeah, or a static ship.
yeah, but just not managing to pick up the zeal yet. And it is also because Harv has made an effort to go down bot this game and try and deny that. Oh, here's Fruit in the
Here we
God
go,
though.
Fruden getting it. Chain crowd control on Temper Fate only manages to catch Just Devil. Essence, the True Shot Rush coming across. Just Devil gets the kill credit there. Half is frontlining pretty damn hard. Can they keep Penguin safe in this fight? No, goes down, but Harv is going to follow shortly afterwards. But again, we're seeing acquiring Exodia losing the team fight pretty damn hard.
Yeah, it was a huge fight with Harv going full man mode and diving in on the Jinx, and 1-on-4 pretty much taking out Jinx and getting the Thresh as a collateral prize. The Drake is also going to go across, that evens it up 2 Drakes apiece, and a lovely fight there, a 4-for-2 for Willump, and just cementing the snowball. They've now got a 7k gold advantage. They're up on kills, and it looks like it's their game to take at this stage. A lot of pressure across the map.
Yeah, they're certainly doing everything right at the moment. They have a lot of the advantages. That Baron, a bit of a misstep in Len and Willem's plan. Obviously, weren't anticipating that happening, but still, it's proving very, very difficult for acquiring Exodia to keep Penguin safe with the threat of Harv there, who's just always spending all these team fights just hunting for that squishy target, which can't, and Penguin just can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's tough too because there's a lot of pressure on Fruden to have ward coverage all over the map because there's only one sight stone on him, again, not on Harv in the jungle, and there's only one upgraded yellow trinket on his team, and otherwise it's just a 60-second trinket, so his team aren't really prioritizing vision control, and that maybe is bleeding them some objectives and pressure on the map. And it might be something they'll need to look to if they want to win the finals.
No, that's true. I mean, well, though they've picked up they've got the advantage as far as the sweeping lenses are concerned. Yes, we've seen on both teams we've got people who haven't upgraded their trinket either way, which seems pretty surprising considering what great value that upgraded greater stealth totem is.
What I will say for Willump is that their wards tend to go down in areas that they're fighting, whereas Exodia's don't. Their wards are all over the map and not really useful right now.
Yep, that's true. It's a really good point that that when we're getting into the team fighting kind of area, being able to quickly establish vision in places that otherwise you would be completely blind, like in these bushes around the fighting area, it seems so important.
Yeah, both teams are posturing now. They're looking for a pick ahead of these objectives. So whichever team is able to get dominance here in mid lane and push to an inhibitor, but you've got to think that with all of the poke on the side of Willump, they're just able to siege down for as long as they need to. Got a split push in top lane where Drater is pushing down hard on this turret. Bot lane is going to start to push out in a second, so lots and lots of pressure across the map, and it's forcing decisions out of blue team. Did they caught Drater maybe again?
Yeah, really nice play. A good reaction there from acquiring Exodia, who are being aggressed onto lovely Nara ultimate, pushing them back into the wall. Handicap being kept safe by the tower for now. So the reactions are there, and the minions are cleared, making it much harder for a tower push to occur.
Yeah, it looked like they were going to rotate and grab a quick turret, but quite didn't have the minions to pull it off, AP.
Yeah, well, I mean, Drater showing the slipperiness of Fitz there. Any other champion with those combination of skills would have just been immediately dead. But they're not. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to really apply that much pressure. Pruden gets caught though. The chain crowd control. Poro gets the kill credit, and I don't think Willump saw that one coming at all.
Yeah, no, Exodia are chasing, looking for the second kill. They want the 4-on-5 battle. There's the shockwave.
One person shockwave. King Kong Poro is alive. Assault and battery blown on a nearly dead King Kong Poro, but really good kiting coming out from the Ezreal. This is a running fight going forward. Danny Chap getting taken very low. Emperor's Divide being used to cut off the terrain. Dust Devil getting taken very, very low. And this is going really, really badly for acquiring Exodia. They're being shoved up back towards where they do not want to be going. Last Light, the sacrificial lamb, keeping Danny Chap alive. Penguins just cannot get away from this aggression.
Couple of things from that fight. At first it looked like Willump had blown a lot of their cooldowns on low priority targets, as you said, and then didn't have anything left for the Jinx and the Azir, who were free hitting onto Vixen, forced to flash away in the river. But in the end they just had the upfront damage, and because of the goal lead they were able to carry off the individual fights and win what will be an overall delayed ace, and give them that top inner turret finally, and position now for this Drake and this Baron that are upcoming, so they're able to get ward control and peel off it. But Exodia are not down and out yet. There's still signs of life. They're willing to take fights. They're getting the picks, and if only they could prioritize their targets a little bit better, I think they can win these fights and potentially turn it around, because those death timers are getting pretty long.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I really get the impression that Willump are being incredibly cocky here now. They definitely feel like they have this game in the bag, and they certainly have a massive gold advantage. But I mean, as the game goes on, it's going to become less and less of an issue. It's proving to be really hard for them to be able to hold down Phoenixo, and I think you're right. The target prioritization is an issue for them, but I don't know. I'm not sure if they should be trying to chase down Phoenixo or just drive them out of the fight. That's certainly what happened last time. It didn't really work out for them because Phoenixo just came back in again when he was able to.
But what they don't want to do is give away another uncontested Baron due to poor positioning and vision, which right now is all in the favour of Exodia. They're looking for the Fnatic push here to grab a kill, but they missed one ward and they're standing right on it, which is kind of given away. But look,
Temper Fate comes in. We could see a big disaster hit. The shockwave completely misses. Danny Chap in the middle of so much destruction takes the assault and battery. Counter offensive comes in. Nara ultimate push them into the wall. Half getting taken so low. One more hit's going to do it. Double creel going across onto Last Life. Drater is there to take up Pruden, picking up Death Devil. Kim Jong-Pog getting taken very low. Pruden is next. Triple kill for Last Light. Really huge for Exodia. Drater's there trying to get a cheeky kill perhaps. But it's not going to happen, and we might even see acquiring Exodia press up the middle lane.
We mentioned it in the last fight, and we've seen it again here. Poor target prioritization, and we saw Penguins free hitting the entire fight. He didn't take any serious damage, so they're blowing cooldowns to kill a Rek'Sai and a Thresh when there's still a Jinx and a Azir wandering around. And those kind of team fights, right now there's nothing to take. They could have potentially got Drake and they may yet get Drake for it, but Red have got to be really careful, because if they lose one of these fights to an ace and lose an inhibitor, they could be 1-1 in this series and potential of going out themselves.
Oh yeah, I really feel like Willump are taking their foot off the pedal in this game. That they're allowing these kind of things to happen. They're so far ahead, item-wise, that it really shouldn't be unless they're, I think it's a combination of making mistakes and, let's talk about Exodia kind of learning how better to combat them. The Dragon easily taken though by Willump, and I guess Exodia can't forget that they are behind no matter how many fights they win.
Yeah, absolutely. If Willump group and force a fight with a 9k gold advantage, then they will definitely win out. Of course, the item spikes that Willump hit first and had that initial power advantage over Exodia kind of lapsed a little bit when Last Light completed his Void Staff, his Nashor's Tooth, and his Rabadon's. When you started to see a completed Rabadon's on, or sorry, a Randuin's on Nar. Jinx has her Phantom Dancer at last and is building towards the last Whisperer. So Exodia are starting to hit their item spikes as well. A little bit late, maybe missed their window somewhat, but they still do tremendous damage. And if they're not respected, they can turn around these fights really fast.
Well, we're seeing both teams going into ARAM mode in the middle, which I don't know if necessarily it's really favouring acquiring Exodia. I mean, they've done a lot of work with minimal resources comparatively, but trying to put themselves in a situation where the most likely outcome is a straight-up fight doesn't seem great. Though saying that, Prudent could be getting caught here. The flash, the knock-up is there. Tempered Fate comes out, keeps Horror out of the fight, and Penguins this time round does get taken out in the backline. Drayton gets his job done, it assassinates his target. Last Light takes him out in return, and it's currently a 2-for-2.
Did see the super mega death rock executed the Bard on the back line. But yeah, overall, still most of the power is available for Red. They're chasing, looking for the kills, and they may yet get him.
That's unfortunate. Last Light, it looks like we're seeing Kumji Pori is going to sacrifice his life to keep Last Light alive. Flashes across the wall, surely going to die. I don't know if that was the right decision.
No, but this could be a Baron here for Willump, and it will help him a lot to siege out these base turrets and get them down. That was a big team fight, and it went hugely in the advantage of Red Team. But have they overstayed? Are Blue going to be able to convert this? Adir does terrible damage, but they've got it just in time.
Oh, well, here we go. The counter-offensive coming in. Phoenixo getting chunked down by Azir. The job isn't quite done yet. The flash comes out, the shutdown as well. Danny Chap does not quite get across the wall. And Last Light is there. Vixen taking a lot of damage, blows the barrier. And here comes Harv with the counter-offensive. Nice use the Emperor's Divide, keeping him safe. Last Light pops across the wall, is just alive. And we might see an angry Bard coming in to try and finish the job. Down counter Bard with his on-hit damage is really good. Last Light goes right back into it though. The shutdown goal goes across to Fruden.
Yeah, so messy, but the Baron going across to Red Team, they're able to turn her. There's a shutdown goes on to Azir, but he's in turn taken down. So fights going back and forth across the board, but definitely you've got to say advantage going to Willump, and it looks like they're one step closer to closing out this game now. They're up 31-17 on kills. They've got a 13k gold advantage, a 1 Drake advantage, and it just seems like a matter of time now before they progress to the finals.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, not even to account the one game advantage, so it's a huge mountain for acquiring Exodia to climb. And it seems like the only chance they've got of doing so is relying on them Willump just not taking things as seriously as they should.
Yeah, and you look at this Ezreal who's just about to hit 300 farm, and he shouldn't be, or sorry, this Orianna on 300 farm shouldn't be that far ahead of the Azir, and you've got the Ezreal who's ahead on farm on the Jinx, which you normally wouldn't expect to see. He's 10-1 now, is absolutely massive. He's finished to transform on his tier item. He's got his last whisper as well. He's probably going to build a Bloodthirster now. So just absolutely a huge carry and a mobile, really consistent damage threat that's just been doing work in his team fights. And then you've got Vixen who's been really delivering with these shockwaves, getting him onto priority targets and using him before she dies. So could be a fight here in top lane for the top laner. Maybe another death push. Haven't been effective so far, but with the Rek'Sai, always has potential.
Yep, I mean, we did see Len Willump doing some interesting looking flanking tactics. I think they might be able to. Drake is about to walk into trouble. He gets caught, but manages to play for his Trickster away from trouble. And this is great from Exodia to try and catch Len Willump off guard. But if they get pulled into a full fight here, this can go really badly. From Crucial Barrage comes across. Danny Sharp frontlining, getting chunked down, goes across the wall. Dust Devil catches Frunen, which is maybe not the target he was looking for. Emperor's Divide comes down, Kim Jong-Paro goes down as well, and Dandy Chap as well, and we're looking at what could be an awful team fight for them. Dust Devil taking Tower aggro as well, I believe, and that's going to be an ace in favour of Len Willump.
Yeah, an ace for one, and they landed all of the skill shots. That's the shit. They got the Bard stun down onto the Azir, followed by the True Shot Barrage. Just beautiful combinations and chains, and you see how they're all on solo health bars. It speaks to the lack of focus over on Exodia, who weren't able to take out the carries in time, and the team fight in their own jungle is going to translate into an inhibitor kill for Willump, and probably not the game with these timers and these health bars. But as we said, one more little step closer to the finals.
Yes, I mean the kind of like the ability for these teams to make mistakes or get away with mistakes so much more limited in the case of acquiring Exodia. Here comes Danny Chap though, looking for a target and maybe about to find the target he wasn't looking for. Traitor there to make sure Hard does not come to any further harm. But a good general idea of Danny Chap to try and see if he could pick off a target as they were leaving.
Yeah, absolutely. And caught a sniff of the Vi on the tremor sense, but bit off more than he can chew with this Fizz. So contesting red buff now, while red gather in anticipation of a fourth Drake.
Oh well, Drayton may be in trouble here. Gets lovely hook, but the follow-up damage isn't quite there. The True Shot Barrage comes across, cuts for the damage. Danny Chap cannot stand up to all of that hurt. The Drayton there has the shield as well. The Death Sentence misses. That's going to be the end of the fight, and it could well be costing them another inhibitor.
Clean up aisle 5, it could be the end of the game. Super minions are pushing down the mid wave. Dust Devil it's just a matter of time. It is the more sensible thing to take out another. Ooh, Tempered Fate misses.
Last Light being aggressive on Empress Divide comes down maybe a little too late. The double kill goes across. That's really, really huge. Len Willump only have to just knock over these towers and the game's going to be done. I have to think there's a surrender vote coming in. Len Willump are going to the finals.
Yeah, excellently played. Very good control in that second game against a really tough composition. We weren't sure how their team were going to pull together, but it really did. They had tons of CC. They had a lot of upfront damage, and in the end, they steamrolled it home, 41-17. A huge 19k gold advantage at 40 minutes, and a very convincing 2-0 from Len Willump to progress in the series.
Yep, really, really well played. They definitely look like they might have pushed their kind of confidence a little too far as they lost a couple of important fights, but it was just too much for Exodia to come back from that massive goal discrepancy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but still well played by them. They put in the effort. They had a lot of team fights to try and turn it around, but in the end, it just came down to the gold advantage from farming and objective control. Just stacked up over time and gave Willump the advantage, and they'll progress. And looks to be an interesting final. So that's it from us here today. I'm going to sign off. I'm Irish Pete Johnstone, and with me is Pete Weskerbis Hartnell. Any final comments, Pete?
Oh yeah, well I'll definitely keep an eye out for those finals. There's going to be more matches taking place tomorrow, I believe, as well. The other semi-final before the finals on the 5th of August. So definitely keep an eye out for the posters. Check where those are going to be, and have a great evening.